Happening now, the latest after Jamestown police recover stolen rifles and pistols during an overnight traffic stop. And we break down Jamestown Public Schools' proposed budget. Plus, why vinyl records are making a comeback.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. Those stories and more are coming up, but first, police here in Jamestown, they recovered an assortment of stolen rifles and pistols during a traffic stop on the city's east side. On Tuesday at around 8:20 at night, the Jamestown Police Department pulled over a vehicle at the intersection of Curtis and Falconer Streets near SUNY JCC. Now, following an investigation, patrol personnel recovered several rifles and pistols inside of the vehicle, which were reported to be stolen during a recent burglary in Jamestown. Some of the weapons appear to be antique rifles and pistols. 3 suspects inside the car, 41-year-old Michael Neep, 42-year-old Ronald Morris Jr., and 23-year-old Dakota Polster, were arrested at the scene. The trio face a slew of charges, including stolen property, as a result of the weapon seizure. Well, law enforcement in Chautauqua County stopped a scuffle between 3 men in Bemis Point last week. The Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office says the arrest happened on Wednesday, where 37-year-old Jeffrey Malani, 18-year-old Landon Malani, and 30-year-old Jonathan Malani following a fight on Pine Street in Bemis Point. The trio are accused of striking a victim and then allegedly threatening them with a baseball bat. They are charged with endangering the welfare of a child. An additional menacing charge was lodged against Jonathan Malani. Now, since the arrest, the group has been released with appearance tickets for the town of Ellery Court. And a Jamestown man is accused of trapping a person within their own residence by screwing the door shut during a dispute. Brandon Watson was arrested by Jamestown police Tuesday night following a domestic dispute on the city's north side. The 37-year-old is accused of violating a refrain from order of protection against the victim. Furthermore, officers said he screwed the door shut on the residents, effectively trapping them inside. Now, since his arrest, Watson has been charged with criminal tampering, criminal contempt, and aggravated family offense. Well, the Jamestown Board of Public Education, they heard the first revision of the district's 2023-24 proposed budget last night. Bronson Rasmussen joins us live from the newsroom today with more and a closer look into the $100 million which are proposed to be spent the next school year. Bronson?
Justin, the proposed budget would create 26 new positions district-wide and provide some much-needed upgrade to the city's middle schools with no increase for the taxpayer.
We're looking to focus on helping our students be successful, specifically around reading and literacy, ELA in English, and mathematics. So we are looking to add support for students at the elementary level, at the middle school level, and at the high school level, in order for us to continue to address the gaps that have been created as a result of pandemic-related shutdowns, and all of the associated things that everybody sees in the news.
The 26 new positions would have a math and ELA teacher at the middle schools and high school, alongside 2 non-certified teachers. At the elementary schools, there will be only 2 additional positions.
You would have 2 full-time teachers, 1 ELA certified, 1 math certified, potentially special ed certified as well, with paraprofessionals in a student support center environment where students who are in need of AIS, which is Academic Intervention Services, can go get that extra help needed in intervention in math and ELA and continue to catch up while they're not missing any of their regular classes. At the elementary level, it's the same kind of model, except it's focused on reading interventions.
The school's Director of Budget and Finance, Brittany Spry, presented the $2 million that would be allocated for capital projects, with the goal of fixing up the area's 3 middle schools, including a much-needed heating system repairs at Purcell Middle School.
An estimated $400,000 at Jefferson to replace the scoreboard, the sign, and the exterior lighting. About $125,000 over at Washington to do the nurse's office renovation and the track, and then the balance, which is about 1.475 at Purcell, hopefully to replace the heating in those classrooms and renovate the track.
There will also be money set aside in the capital budget to combat unforeseen obstacles, like the recent need to change the Red Raider mascot.
Additionally, as a part of the capital budget, there is funding available in there to continue with our equipment replacement, as well as additional funding in maintenance to address other areas district-wide that may need some attention, as well as some money earmarked to replace for our anything that may have Red Raiders on it.
The finance director also suggested creating a new capital improvement reserve fund for up to $5 million to help stem the tide for taxpayers in future school endeavors. To create the fund, however, voters would need to pass the initiative. Now, this is just a preliminary budget workshop for the school board. A full vote will take place at the end of the month. Reporting in the newsroom, Bronson Rasmussen, WNY News Now.
The unemployment rate recorded a big increase in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties. The New York State Department of Labor released the updated jobless report for the month of January. Statistics reveal the unemployment rates for both counties jumped over a percentage point during the first month of the year. Specifically in Chautauqua County, the rate was 5.1%. That's up 3.8% from December. Last year at this time, the county's rate was reported to be 4.8%. Meanwhile, in Cattaraugus County, the rate was 5.2% in January, up from 3.8% last December. Now, at this time in 2022, the Cat County rate was 4.8% in January. Well, the Jamestown Board of Public Utilities, they have issued an important notice for some garbage and recycling customers. The public utility says due to reconstruction of Ronald Road on the city's east side, trash pickup is taking place earlier than usual. BPU officials are asking residents on Ronald Road, Kimberly, and Lori Lane to put garbage and recycling at the curb after 4 p.m. the night before the regular collection day. The time change gives the BPU employees a chance to avoid the construction work zone and properly empty your trash and recycling receptacles. Well, now let's get a first check of our weather forecast. Chief Weather Forecaster Andrew Stevenson joins us from the First Defense Weather Center today. Andrew, and one thing has returned to the picture. We haven't seen it in what feels like a little bit. The sun.
Yeah, the sunshine is finally back out in full force today. Today we'll actually have mostly sunny skies. There will be a few more clouds around tomorrow, so if you want to enjoy the full sunshine, get outside and enjoy it. We start off with a live look from the Randolph Peaches and Cream Sky Cam with blue skies and mostly sunny skies out there. So first defense Doppler radar right now, nothing happening out there, just a couple of clouds here and there, but otherwise it's going to be a beautiful day out there. Yesterday we made it to a high of 26 degrees, the low was 20. The records for today, 82 degrees is the record high for today, set back in 1990, and the record low for today, -3, set back in 1905. So for the afternoon out there, the sun is back, a beautiful day out there, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures today will be in the mid-30s. I'll have a look at that full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, we'll see you back in a little bit. As we continue this half hour, we break down the new federal legislation that could bring wind turbines to Lake Erie. And later, a look at new reporting which is outlining the gender gap here in the state of New York.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
On this episode of Lead and Lures, pro staffer and lethal lady Caitlin Armstrong takes out her big Ohio buck. Months of hard work, dedication, and scouting have led her to this moment. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lead and Lures on Channel 716 Roku TV. And if you want to see more of Caitlin Armstrong, follow her on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Caitlin Armstrong.
Land has been quite the experience.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Legislation to develop areas of Lake Erie for wind generation, allowing the region to reap the economic benefits of this clean, renewable energy source, has been introduced. House Bill 254 would establish the Lake Erie Wind Energy Development Act. This federal legislation would create a competitive process and award a permit lease to develop certain areas of lake beds for wind energy generation. Additionally, the bill would establish a 2% royalty on gross revenue going forward for government entities for lake and county-related projects. The bill is currently in the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee. Well, New York State released a report Tuesday from the Department of Labor on the state's gender wage gap. Findings from the new report show that while New York's gender wage gap is the second smallest in the nation, women here in New York, they earned 88 cents for every $1 a man earned in 2021. The report says over a 40-year career, the gap would cost a woman $350,000 in diminished lifetime earnings. Researchers also found that the pivot to remote learning and pandemic-driven closures of child care facilities elevated the impact of child care access, which the state says has been a major factor for working women, especially towards this gender wage gap. The report includes recommendations for greater pay equity in the state. These include increasing pay for low-wage workers, expanding parental leave, and raising awareness about the state's equal rights amendments. Well, we have continuing coverage on the nor'eastern storm that impacted parts of New York yesterday. Our New York Capital correspondent Elise Klein, who works in Albany, spent the day out in the snow.
Ahead of the nor'eastern storm, Governor Kathy Hochul declares a state of emergency for several counties in New York, including Albany.
This is how we can amplify the message that this is serious, but also allows us to deploy resources and take extraordinary measures to protect the safety of our residents and their properties.
The governor also pre-positioned 100 National Guard in the capital region, ready to step in. Throughout the day, New York State Office of General Services drives through the streets of Albany and in front of the Capitol building, clearing snow and sanding the streets. According to the National Weather Service, Albany has gotten about 6 inches of snow so far and is predicted to get another 3 to 5 inches throughout the evening. While officials continue to stress the seriousness of this storm, some residents enjoyed being out in the snow today, taking walks and building snowmen. Molly Bray Hayes says she doesn't mind the nor'easter storm weather. Earlier today, she took a walk through the snow with her dog, Tippy.
It's been all right, to dig out the car later and do all that winter stuff, but it just makes me appreciate the spring and summer more.
While Bray Hayes doesn't mind the snow, Tippy is not a big fan. She says she won't leave the house without her yellow power jacket. Bray Hayes says she is confident Tippy will get through the rest of the storm.
She just has to have her power jacket on, and then she'll go out and do her thing.
In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
Aw, Tippy, glad to see you made it through the storm, Elise. Thank you. Well, this past weekend, Pennsylvania celebrated its 342nd birthday with the display of William Penn's charter at the State Museum in Harrisburg. The 342-year-old charter is written on parchment using iron gall ink and is preserved in a high-security vault, shielding it from strong light and environmental factors. King Charles II signed the charter in 1681 and named the new colony in honor of his William Penn's father, not Penn himself. The king owned Penn's late father's 16,000 pounds, but at the time, King Charles was broke. Instead of the money, Penn opted for land in the New World so that he and his fellow Quakers could worship freely.
He used it as a recruiting tool for people who were persecuted in England in particular and in other parts of Europe to get people to come and settle here.
Now, Penn's charter also contains the first official use of the word Pennsylvania. The charter is on display once each year for a limited time to celebrate the Commonwealth's birthday. Well, coming up next, a new lawsuit has been filed over the toxic Ohio train derailment. And later, a prescription drug price relief could soon be on tap for area seniors. But first, when we return, Andrew has a full look at our weather forecast, how long this sunshine will stick around today.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
There are two silver linings here. One, that no injuries were reported. And two, they were able to contain the fire from spreading further.
Western New York has a new congressional member representing them.
One of the things that made Betty White so unique was the fact that she connected generations of fans throughout the decades. Take a look at the display here.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
Move over.
When you see signs,
lights,
vests,
please give us some room.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
When you need help,
it's our job
to help you.
To save you.
Despite the danger.
This danger is real.
Do your part.
Please.
Slow down. Slow down. And move over.
Move over.
Have you ever wanted to live out your dreams? Hunt, fish, in all corners of the earth? Well, now's your chance. Follow primitive patriot dreams and show you how to live out yours through outdoor adventures. From Western New York to Africa to all corners of the earth, follow us on this adventure. It's an experience you've never seen before. Lead and Lures, Roku TV, Channel 716.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense Weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. Currently in downtown Jamestown, we're under mostly sunny skies. The current temperature is 31 degrees at the airport with a north wind of 10 miles per hour, and the wind chill makes it feel like 22 out there. Well, I mentioned this yesterday, but I want to do a comparison. Here at the Jamestown airport, we have 51.7 inches of snow so far this winter season, which is about 38 inches below average. When we compare that to the Buffalo area, which is actually above average in terms of snowfall, up there at the Buffalo Airport, average is at 87.4 inches. So far this winter season, the Buffalo Airport has seen 133 inches of snow, which means this is the fifth snowiest winter season on record at the Buffalo Airport. But that's mainly because the Buffalo area saw two major winter snowstorms, one in November and the Christmas snowstorm, so that's why they're running well above average and are on pace to be the fifth snowiest season on record. And if they get about 10 more inches of snow, they'll go to the fourth snowiest season on record. So what a difference between the Buffalo area and down here in Jamestown, where we are running well below average in terms of snowfall. Across the Northeast right now, what's left of that low pressure system that brought all that snow to the portions of the Northeast is currently spinning off into the Atlantic Ocean, and high pressure is building back in here across the Great Lakes, and that's going to provide dry weather over the next few days. So let's time it out on future scan to the rest of the day today. Partly to mostly sunny skies, a beautiful day out there. We'll keep the partly cloudy skies heading in tonight, but more clouds will begin to filter into the region heading into tonight and into the day tomorrow. Tomorrow will be another dry day, but there will be more clouds around, partly mostly cloudy skies at times. And then we head in Thursday night, and another low pressure system will begin to move into the region. That's going to bring mainly rain showers to the region on Friday. And on Friday night, a cold front's going to move through the region, and that's going to usher in some colder air and some more snow showers heading into the week. weekend. Well, the Jamestown is turning the Chautauqua River green on Saturday, so if you're going down to Jamestown Riverwalk for the festivities, it's going to be a little chilly out there with temperatures in upper 20s close to 30. We're also going to be dealing with a couple of snow showers Saturday morning, so for turning the river green. And now the extended forecast from Ultimate Satellite Solutions. After that cold front moves through, it's going to be a chilly weekend. Temperatures only in the lower 30s with lake effect snow showers Saturday and Sunday. But as we head into next week, it looks like an extended period of dry weather will start off the week and take us through much of the week with partly sunny skies and temperatures at or slightly above average for much of next week. A much needed relief from the winter weather we've been dealing with.
Yeah, certainly. And this winter hasn't disappointed in the mildness, but nevertheless, it's when you're treated to such warmth, Andrew, sometimes it's difficult to have to deal with the cold. Thank you very much. Well, let's get some headlines now from around the nation. Ohio is suing Norfolk Southern over a train derailment that released toxic chemicals in East Palestine last month. State Attorney General Dave Yost accused the company of negligence in a 58-count suit, which was filed in federal court on Tuesday. The lawsuit cites that the railroad's 80% increase in accidents over the past decade and says that the derailment could have been prevented. Norfolk Southern is yet to respond to the lawsuit, but its CEO has pledged to make things right. He says they will clean the site thoroughly and quickly and is considering whether to cover health care costs. The company is also reportedly implementing new safety measures. Well, as the war in Ukraine continues, there's a growing fear that other global powers like China could get involved. Military researchers tell our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp China's enhanced involvement could potentially lead to a new Cold War.
First responders and locals are picking up the pieces in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk following a Russian strike which killed one person, according to reports. As the fighting continues and intensifies in the eastern part, Russia is trying to court other countries like China for help.
The fact that they've turned to the North Koreans shows how desperate Moscow truly must be. China is no doubt the most attractive potential partner for Russia.
Dr. Timothy Heath's research with the RAND Corporation focuses on China and their military. The U.S. and allies have helped Ukraine with military support, sending weapons and ammo to the Ukrainians. But unlike the U.S., China has mostly stayed out of the conflict, but have helped Russia in other ways.
Political support. China's government has echoed Moscow's talking points and narrative about the conflict. China has also provided economic support in the sense that China has not imposed sanctions.
However sympathetic Beijing might be towards Moscow, Heath says China depends heavily on the U.S., Europe, and Japan for its trade. So while the possibility of an increase in China's involvement in the conflict is unlikely, Heath says if the Chinese provided weapons to Russia,
I think that would result in a dramatic worsening of relations with the U.S. and Europe. Maybe the U.S. and its allies would find themselves potentially in essentially a new Cold War with China and Russia aligned on one side and the U.S. and its allies and partners on the other. And that would move the world into a much scarier direction.
At the Capitol, Rachel Knapp reporting.
Some Medicare beneficiaries could start paying less for certain prescriptions. The Department of Health and Human Services says starting next month, the out-of-pocket cost is dropping for 27 drugs. Seniors could save between $200 and $390 per average dose of these medications. The initiative is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It requires drug companies to pay a rebate to Medicare if they raise their prices faster than inflation. Well, coming up next, vinyl records, they've made a big comeback. Look at what's fueling the decades-old medium in the music industry today.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
On this episode of Lead and Lures, pro staffer and lethal lady Caitlin Armstrong takes out her big Ohio buck. Months of hard work, dedication, and scouting have led her to this moment. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lead and Lures on Channel 716 Roku TV. And if you want to see more of Caitlin Armstrong, follow her on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Caitlin Armstrong.
Land has been quite the experience.
WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
The issue for the agriculture community and some GOP lawmakers is the new financial burden.
The DA telling me he's received 30,000 files alone from New York State Police in the form of things like PDF files, Excel sheets, and video evidence.
Once those 4 graduate from the academy, it will leave the city of Jamestown with 60 firefighters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Trends, they come and go, and here's one many may have not have expected to make a return. It appears vinyl records have made a big comeback. The Recording Industry Association of America says for the first time in more than 3 decades, vinyl records, they outsold CDs. WNY News Now's Marissa Thomas has more.
For the first time since 1987, vinyl records outsold CDs in the U.S. There were 41 million vinyl albums and 33 million CDs sold last year. Back in the early 90s, when CDs were the more popular trend, Michael Graham, owner and operator of Graham's Records, was buying vinyl albums with the belief that they would quickly make their way back.
I really felt pretty strongly that for how many decades vinyl was the primary source of people's music, I just didn't think it was going to evaporate with CDs.
And record sales have been steadily increasing for 16 years straight, which is something that's helped business for Graham's Records.
Certainly it's been beneficial. It's been a steady slow growth. I mean, probably for the past 12 years I've heard people say, oh, I hear vinyl's coming back.
While the resurgence itself, Graham expected, how it came back was more surprising.
What I did not expect, however, was sort of a rebirth of vinyl, and that would be, millennial and younger era people just kind of being drawn to it, and it really caught fire with them just as much as it became a nostalgic throwback to people that maybe had collected earlier in their life and wanted to come back around.
For those who love music, to have something tangible that represents that affinity is timeless.
I've seen plenty of people that once it gets under their skin, they just can't shake it. So, that's why I think it's here to stay. I think the physical format needs to exist.
Marissa Thomas, WNY News Now.
All right, Marissa, thank you very much. And I know a lot of people, Andrew, who are buying vinyl. They're buying record players. There's a lot of new ones now, which you do a lot. They have Bluetooth in the record players and things like that, and connect to your other devices. So it is an interesting trend, and I mean, I wasn't sure, right? You'd think with the CD, I don't know many people who still go out and buy CDs like they used to. Unless maybe you had a car that didn't have like a Bluetooth connection where you could listen to music. But even then now, I remember this in high school, we had like a cassette player that we could put into the car and do an aux jack into our phone.
Even some of the newer cars are starting to put like CD
right.
players back in a newer car.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like nowadays everyone has the phones. You can just listen to your music on the phone, but the millennials are starting to turn back to vinyl record players, which is very interesting.
And I think it goes to show maybe like how hip it is, right? Like my sister got a record collection that she has from my dad. And then I even know my fiance's sister I believe she got some records for Christmas. And I think like their new records, like Taylor Swift's new album is on record. So you have like big names who are taking advantage of this. And I suppose anytime there's a demand from a consumer, people are going to step forward and say, we'll fill it by making records. And in some cases, when you look at like older tracks, these are super rare, some of these records that I'm sure that are out there.
I mean, before you had to probably use your grandparents' record players, but actually I've seen in the stores are making brand new record players nowadays, which is
which is pretty remarkable to see. But let us know what you think about this at WNY News Now on social media. We always love to hear your comments connected to Marissa's story. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. We'll leave you with this look over Chautauqua Lake. Another big story here is the sunshine that we're going to have, so certainly if you can, get out and enjoy it. Although, as Andrew mentioned during your full forecast, you're going to need a jacket. You just can't go out there shirtless today.
It looks warm out there, but it's not very warm out there.
They say looks can be deceiving for sure. The news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com, and in our free mobile app. You can download it in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Have a great day.